From the HockeyFan.com studios, this is the Dump and Chase podcast. Stream the show on Western Reserve Radio, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. With your hosts, Sam Olmstead and Justin Irwin. The show starts now.
Daddy, what are you doing?
I don't know. Sam paid me $5 to read this. Show starts now.
Hello, Phantom fans, and welcome to Season 5, Episode 7 of the Dump and Chase podcast. I'm Sam, and I'm back here once again with my co-host, and let's face it, my best friend. I want to say Jerry?
Doug.
Oh,
wait, no. Scott. Hold on. Which one of these is the real one?
Check the name on your underwear.
Justin,
that's it. Justin, Happy New Year's, brother.
Happy New Year to you, man.
Between the weather and that family and everything else, a crazy holiday season, but we're finally back at it. So right away to kick off the show, of course, we want to thank our incredible sponsors, the staff at Advanced Podiatry. So for more information on office locations and appointment information, including same-day appointments, as well as treatments offered and services provided, check out advancedpodiatry.com. Advanced Podiatry, where surgery is always a last resort. So we took a little bit of time off.
Yeah, a few weeks.
Once I went back to see when we published our last episode, a lot longer than I thought we were gone, but...
Yeah, I mean... I don't know. It's been such a weird period that,
just things at home needed taken care of, kind of get our houses in order. A lot of things going on. Definitely want to thank everyone for the kind words as we took a break. Even heard from a few people I thought were mad at me. So that was kind of nice.
And at least for a change, I was not the source of a lot of rumors.
I know. I will say, because I did say in the statement it wasn't due to legal or health reasons. Also was not divorce either. Thank you to the couple people who reached out to me to lock in that answer. Not getting a divorce. Everything's fine there. But again, thank you for a couple of you who made that guess.
Nobody went to rehab.
We're all good now. So. And we're recording this. We're very quickly removed from the release of our special holiday episode interview with Trey Taylor. I mean, how much fun was that?
I mean, it was kind of cathartic going into the holidays and just getting to talk to him. First time I've had any correspondence with him really in a long time. So, he's doing well and that's great. So, that was at least, a good positive over the holidays.
I do apologize. I have hogged Trey a lot. Since he left Youngstown, I have been hogging him, but no, it was a lot of fun. I got to do about a good half-hour interview with Trey talking about, what's been going on with him up at Clarkson University. Him looking back on his time in Youngstown. So that episode is out on however you listen to the show, either YouTube or the various podcatchers. So make sure you check that out. A lot of fun getting to talk to Trey again. In the time we've been gone, there's a lot of news that's gone on. We've actually missed quite a bit. I think this may be the way to go. Just do one episode every couple of months. That way we have a lot of news to fill these shows.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to rapid fire this or we'll drag on at this point.
Well,
yeah, we've a little too much at this point.
No, we're timing wise, we're okay. Now, granted, because we're barreling towards episode 100 this season, if we're just going to take a couple month break after every episode, then it might take us a few years to hit that. But hopefully by the end of this season, we'll be getting to episode 100 of the show. But no, back on December 6th, we had some trade news with the Phantoms. Of course, everybody well aware by now. Phantom Reese Lawbaugh sent to Omaha for now former Lancer and former Chicago Steel member Andon Serbone. And we were talking about before the show, back when Matt Barnaby came to Youngstown from Chicago. I don't think we were as much as like, Chicago back then as we are now. So he is a welcome addition. I will say that right off the bat. But seeing Andon Sorbonne in a Phantoms jersey is really messing with my head.
Yeah. Like I said, even my mom was a little bit like, wait, hold on, him? She didn't even really think he was real. She thought that it was some weird nickname that Mark Citron had made up.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? You don't know. You never hear him use the real name, so you start to wonder, is that guy's last name really Puma? Or, well, hopefully not his first name, or I hate...
Yeah,
that'd be grounds to sue your parents if they actually named you Puma. But no, and we're going to talk about later on in the episode, Andon Sorbonne definitely contributing right away to the Youngstown Phantoms, and we're going to be again talking about that later on in the episode. Another bit of news, Jacob Fowler and Andrew Strathman representing Team USA at the World Junior A Challenge, bringing home gold medals. So major stick taps to those two. At some point, I had sent a message to Jacob Fowler. I told him, I'm like, you're going to have to slow down a little bit. I'm running out of ways to congratulate you on this stuff. But yeah, congratulations to both of them bringing some gold back to Youngstown.
Yeah, Fowler just commanding in net. Strathman picked up some points. So really good performance by both of them.
I'm remembering Fowler. He had the one shutout. Was it one shutout or two? I'm remembering the one for sure.
I think it was two. I know the first game was a shutout. I'm pretty sure he got two. And yeah, just out on the world stage, he's stepped up.
Well, while we are back now, our research department still on sabbatical, so hopefully we'll get that back soon. And then here just recently announced, Jacob Fowler, Andrew Strathman, Brendan Svoboda, and William Whitelaw all named to the BioSteel All-American game. That'll be taking place Monday, January 16th up at the USA Hockey Arena in Plymouth. Can you remember the last time the Phantoms had 4 players in one of these games?
No. I'm trying to think if we ever had 4 in one game. Might have happened like years ago, but yeah, we're usually overlooked, and a lot of times the guys we get picked are the second or third guy who goes as somebody who was a replacement. This is the first time I can remember at least 4 guys announced at the start.
More recent news, this was some huge news just in the history of the Youngstown Phantoms organization. The game on Thursday, February 23rd, that was to take place at the Cavelli Center with the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders, has been relocated. That game will take place at First Energy Stadium in Cleveland, finally giving me a reason to go to Cleveland Browns Stadium and not have to watch the Browns.
Yeah, well, I'm a Browns fan, and I can agree with you on that.
I've been around the outside of the stadium. I have not been inside the stadium. So weather pending, this will be my first trip to First Energy Stadium.
Same here. I haven't been to a Browns game since they were in old Cleveland Stadium, if that gives you any indication of my mindset.
Well, I don't know I can't remember what it's called now. It was Quicken Loans Arena. I've been there a handful of times. I've been to Jacobs Field, or whatever it's called now, or Progressive Field, or whatever. I've been there once. This will complete the Cleveland trifecta. Although funny, I've been to what is it, Rocket Mortgage Field House or whatever now.
Yeah.
I've probably been there 6 or 7 times. It's never to see a Cleveland Cavalier game though. No, but anyways, yeah. So the Phantoms will be taking place in an outdoor game, I believe. During that week, that's Ohio State, Michigan that's going to be playing there. So a lot of the festivities going on around it. One of them will be a USHL regular season game between the Phantoms and Cedar Rapids. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a unique environment. I was at the first Winter Classic, so seeing a hockey game in the middle of a football field is different. We'll see how the weather plays out. It's kind of, I don't know, I want to say a little late in the season to be making these changes, I think. I wish there had been a little more planning in that. I got to kind of scramble to make sure I get time off. But yeah, definitely a unique development for the Youngstown Phantoms.
Well, thank you for that beautiful lukewarm sentiment there.
Still trying to gather my thoughts on it. I mean,
I'm trying to bring the light and happiness here. This is the newer, lighter Dump and Chase podcast, and you went right to the doom and gloom there. Come on, we got a little meditation during the commercial break here. Speaking of which, we're going to go ahead and take our first break. So when we come back, we'll take a look at this past holiday weekend with the Phantoms road trip through Iowa. You are listening to the Dump and Chase podcast on Western Reserve Radio. And we're back here on the Dump and Chase podcast, brought to you by Advanced Podiatry. So this past weekend, the Phantoms had 3 games leading up to New Year's. A Thursday game in Dubuque, which was a 5-1 win for the Phantoms. Friday game again at Cedar Rapids. That was a 4-2 loss. And Saturday at Waterloo, that was a 7-5 loss. Yeah, 6 possible points here. The Phantoms only picking up 2. Waterloo, I could care not to see for a while again.
That will be brought up again.
Granted, the Phantoms looked a lot better against Waterloo than they did the first game of the season.
At least, yeah, for half of the game.
Yeah. The Friday game that lost to Cedar Rapids, I mean, it was a 4-2 loss. Overall, it was a good game.
Yeah, I mean, both teams were fighting hard for 2 points. Cedar Rapids just happened to get the 2 points.
Yeah, for most of this game, it was solid goaltending. I mean, solid defense. Just right there at the end of the game, Cedar Rapids just kind of pulled away. But overall, even though they lost, it was actually a very enjoyable game to watch.
Yeah, and the Phantoms going into the weekend had won I think 6 out of 7. I think they took that up to 7 out of 8. And, they had a pretty good run. So,
yeah, historically, these 3-game weekends where you're traveling to a different town every night, I think league wide, I don't think many teams have much success by the end of the weekend.
And you're coming off of a holiday layoff. This wasn't totally unexpected.
The Thursday game, the one Phantoms win this weekend, the 5-1 win. I will say, as good as Youngstown looked, Dubuque just looked very uncomfortable the entire game. Almost looked like they hadn't practiced passing drills in a while. That was, I would guess, for a Dubuque fan, that was a rough game to watch for them.
Yeah, and I believe they had played the night before and won.
Yeah.
I guess rather a good game. So it's not like they were unprepared coming out of the holiday break. So, yeah, I don't know really what to chalk that up to. The Phantoms played great. But Dubuque, they did not look well.
Yeah, they played Waterloo the night before in Waterloo. They won that game 5-2. So, yeah, I mean, you couldn't blame it on the holiday break or really anything like that. That was just what we're used to seeing from Dubuque. That was a little rough.
I'm sure the next time we see them, they will be a lot more prepared.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the strange thing. The Phantoms have played 3 games against Dubuque this year. All of them have been high-scoring games.
Yeah.
Phantoms, 2 wins and a shootout loss. The first game on November 11th, the Phantoms won 7-2. The next night on November 12th, that's when they lost 6-5 in a shootout, and then win this game 5-1. So these have actually been some pretty high-scoring games with Dubuque, which I don't think is something we're really used to.
Yeah, no. Usually it's goaltending battles. It tends to get a little bit physical. I think in this one, we own the physicality, and I just think Dubuque, I don't know, maybe coming out of Waterloo, they overestimated themselves.
And then another thing that kind of surprised me was that, going through putting numbers together and everything for this episode, this was the first time we'd played Cedar Rapids all season.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a little while since we've done these shows. We've taken a little time off, but it was just, I had it in my head that we've played Cedar Rapids already this season, started going through putting stuff together. This was the first matchup with Cedar Rapids this year.
I mean, I remember seeing them at the Fall Classic, and that's about it. Yeah, you would think at least by this point in the season, we'd have faced them once or twice.
Another thing I want to bring up, the Phantoms penalty kill, which, and I'm going to talk about later, wasn't too incredibly great over the weekend. The game on Thursday with Dubuque, there was a couple points there. The Phantoms penalty kill really came up huge. One point, a double minor that they killed off, and really Dubuque didn't muster anything in that 4 minutes. Just a lot of chasing the puck down the ice. And then later on in the game, Dubuque having all like pretty close to like a full 2 minutes of a 5-on-3 power play.
And those were both momentum swings for the Phantoms.
And, I'd say the 5-on-3, you had a couple moments of just some absolutely great goaltending. And then again, just a lot of Dubuque chasing the puck down the ice. Those were two instances. It was probably the most impressive the Youngstown penalty kill had looked all season.
Yeah, and definitely, we needed a lot more of that this weekend, and we didn't get it. I'm sorry if I'm being a little bit on the negative side, but yeah, we'll get on that a little bit more in 4 points. But at least for Thursday, yeah, we definitely built off of the penalty kill.
Yeah, so like I said, 6 possible points this weekend. The Phantoms only picking up 2 of them. As far as the standings are concerned, it really didn't hurt the Phantoms too much. Currently, the Phantoms are in 6th place, sitting in the last playoff spot in the East with 28 points, but they are tied with Muskegon, also with 28 points. Youngstown has a game in hand right now there. Cedar Rapids in 4th place, who, they've really picked it up as of late. I believe Cedar Rapids swept all 3 games they played this past weekend.
I think we essentially swapped spots with Cedar Rapids in the standings.
Yes. But yeah, only trailing Cedar Rapids by 1 point. Team USA only trailing them by 3. Green Bay only trailing them by 4. Chicago's just kind of run away with it so far. They didn't have that great of a weekend. Yeah, even though only getting the 1 win in 3 games, standings wise really didn't hurt them too much.
Yeah, I think we were in 4th place going into the weekend. We're down to 6th place, but it's a very short gap. And you mentioned we only played Cedar Rapids 1 time this season. That means we have a lot more chances to make that back up.
That would be 5 more chances, including because actually that weekend of the Cleveland Classic, that was actually supposed to be a 3-game series at the Covelli Center that weekend. Now one of the games being moved up to Cleveland. So the Thursday game will be up in Cleveland, and then the Friday and Saturday night games will be at the Covelli Center. So that series there was a 3 games in 3 days in the area. So that's 3 of the 5 remaining with Cedar Rapids, and then 2 more there in April towards the end of the season. But
I think those are on the road.
Yes.
So yeah.
All right, and so with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up the weekend recap. We are going to go ahead and take another break here. When we come back, we will break down the weekend in another segment of 4 points. This is the Dump and Chase podcast on Western Reserve Radio.
Advanced Podiatry has been making happy feet in the Mahoning Valley for 35 years. Our offices are located in Cortland, Champion, Austintown, Columbiana, and Howland. Our Howland office has relocated to 8601 East Market Street in Howland Corners. Advanced Podiatry offers sports medicine and treatment plans for all ages. You can also request an appointment online by visiting our website at advancedpodiatry.com. Advanced Podiatry, where surgery is always a last resort.
Join Stars photographer BA and Off-Ice official Gene Cotter for Thunderstruck, the unofficial Lincoln Stars podcast, where we talk with your favorite Lincoln Stars players, coaches, and alumni.
It was a great night, yeah. Beat them in their own rink just before the buzzer. It was something special for sure.
I don't want to call it a surprise because I knew that there was a great, rich history for hockey here in Lincoln, but I was really happy to see the fans come back in droves and be such a great supporter for us.
I think he's copying some NHLer he's looking up to, but I don't know. I think it's Dusty. I think a lot of guys think it's sick, though.
To let them in penalty minutes back before they handed out those little 10-minute wussy misconducts on everything.
Thunderstruck the podcast, all season long, right here on the Anchor app or wherever you find your favorite podcast.
And we're back with the Dump and Chase podcast on Western Reserve Radio. And definitely want to give a shout out to the guys at the Thunderstruck podcast, kind of holding down the fort while we took our sabbatical. I got to imagine their numbers were a lot better since they were pretty much the only USHL option.
You know, people go looking for them like I go looking at Last Call.
So to the guys at the Thunderstruck podcast, you're welcome. And while we're at it, we'll give a shout out to the newest USHL podcast. We're slowly branching everyone out. we talked about that was the initial goal, that we'd kind of like to see this community of these podcasts with the different teams. We're up to like 3 total. So another 20 years or so, we might have the whole entire league. So we're definitely building towards that point. But yeah, I also want to give a shout out to the Nightline podcast, the Omaha Lancers unofficial fan podcast. So you have a Lincoln and an Omaha podcast. I can't wait till those guys do something together.
Oh, wow. I'll run the books on that.
I'm gonna
we know that one's going to blows. But yeah, I mean, no surprises with those 2 fan bases.
I'm going if somebody ever starts a Team USA podcast, I imagine we're not going to be on each other's shows too much. So if that point in time ever comes, I don't see that working out too well. But
I'm not even going to comment on that. I'll get us in trouble.
I
legal department is like going, no, don't go there.
I want to do a show and just get all of them on there and just be like, all right, Lincoln, Omaha, start talking. Just sit back. It'd be the easiest show we ever did. Just let those 2 go at each other. When in actuality, I will say those guys all actually do get along very well. The Thunderstruck guys have definitely been helping them out as well as us, getting them going. So
I mean, 80% of the USHL fans, get it.
Yeah.
There's a certain percentage that, like any sport. But most of us, kind of see each other as friendly rivals.
Yeah. But if we got them together, we know what buttons to push to move the conversation along. So we'd have some fun with that.
Oh, I'm definitely taking an instigator.
Oh, yeah. All right. So for listeners, new and old, it is now time for 4 points. 4 points is where we break down the previous weekend into 4 categories: what we liked, what we didn't like, favorite moment, and the Dump and Chase podcast 3 stars of the week. So I will be kicking it off with what we liked. A lot of our conversations with Ryan Ward in the offseason before this season started, he talked about the defense of the Phantoms, not sitting back, wanting the puck, chasing the puck. When the Phantoms did not have the puck, the goal was to get it back as quickly as possible. And I would say over the last month or so, that is something we are seeing more than ever. The Phantoms defense, just in scenarios where you wouldn't typically see them going after the puck, they've been relentless with them, and it's been paying dividends for them.
Yeah, I mean, I went on at length at points about those 50-50 pucks. And I mean, we weren't going after 80-20. And, now if we think we've got a chance on a 30-70 percentage, we're definitely going at it. So, yeah. And I mean, win or lose, it's at least a lot more fun to see.
So what'd you like?
Physicality. We've seen it. And the one thing I will say I liked about the game against Waterloo, Youngstown is back to playing really, really physical hockey. And when we do it clean and stay out of the box, it definitely is fun to watch, and we're going to win a lot of games.
As far as what I didn't like, and I did praise them a little bit earlier, but yeah, what I didn't like from this past weekend, the Phantom special teams, the penalty kill was effective against Dubuque, but overall on the weekend, the power play was only 1 for 11. The penalty kill gave up 7 goals on 16 opportunities. You're sniffing just above 50% there in penalty kill percentage. And this is going to play into this coming weekend, kind of talking about the special teams, but it's kind of been this weird thing. And I've had some conversations with other people about this, that the Phantom special teams, there's just kind of like these highs followed by these deep lows, and it just kind of keeps going back and forth.
A little Jekyll and Hyde.
Yes. It's true for anybody in any level of hockey. You want to see consistency with the special teams. I would say right now the Phantoms are in a little bit of a low. I'd really like to see them kind of go the other way with it. Just like I said, 2 really good penalty kills against Dubuque. But overall, on the weekend, the numbers just were not great.
Yeah. And it was kind of a downhill thing. And this leads into what I didn't like. We were already not having very good success on the penalty kill. I think we were 0 for 3 against Waterloo in that game. And to be honest, there were some very sketchy calls. I think everything went back to a a horrible icing call. But we took a bench minor. Eventually, it led to a 4-on-4 goal. Waterloo was giving up some pretty stupid penalties too. But discipline starts at the top down, and at that point, it was just like we do not need this. Like you said, there's been kind of highs and lows. This was a real low.
Yeah, I think overall in the Waterloo, if I remember correctly, overall in the Waterloo game, Waterloo was 4 for 6 on the power play.
Yeah, we were tied. I believe we were tied at this point. Like I said, I remember it being a 4-on-4 goal because Waterloo took a penalty at some point shortly after. Go figure, the refs, looking maybe to make something up. And I don't know what went on the bench. And like I said, there was some really dubious calls all around that I can agree, the bench should have been questioning, but whatever, somebody took it one step over the line.
So my favorite moment, I have been looking forward to this. The captain, Shane LaChance, on the Thursday game against Dubuque, dropping the gloves and throwing hams. This upcoming weekend, I'm going to try to catch Shane at some point and ask him, because it felt like this fight should have been over a few seconds earlier than it was. Oh, let me look up the name here. Sean O'Donnell had no real offense in this fight at all. At one point, he was going down. I felt like Shane was kind of holding him up a little bit to get a few more punches in. Yeah, this fight should have been over a few seconds earlier. I kind of felt Shane was knew he had won it and was kind of holding on to him to throw a few extra. So I wanted, that was, and I had tweeted out, do not piss off Shane LaChance, because wow.
Yeah.
And that's not a swear word. I can say that. In England, it means drunk. So we're good.
Yeah, well, and I've had a few shots, so yeah.
Yeah, you're pretty pissed right now.
Anyway, it was I believe a clean hit, a very hard hit.
Yeah.
I believe he thought somebody was targeting one of his friends. So, at that point, the way things were going, I could see Shane wanting to set the tone at that point. And whoa.
Yeah.
O'Donnell should have turtled immediately, but
that's why I said I think he held him up to keep him from falling to get a couple more whacks in. I'm definitely going to ask him this weekend if that was the case.
He didn't exactly have him held up by the back of his jersey, but he definitely got at least one more hit in than I think O'Donnell was thinking that fight went on, maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so my favorite moment, I guess since you took pretty much the highlight moment of the weekend, as you mentioned before, we're done with Waterloo. They've had our number the past couple of seasons, and I don't like their play-by-play. So yeah, unless they come to the Covelli for a playoff game, we're done with them.
Now that you mention that, and I will bring it up because we did talk about this during the Cedar Rapids game, I didn't catch as much as the Waterloo game as I would have liked to. As far as Dubuque and Cedar Rapids, we had some good commentary this weekend.
Especially Dubuque. That was talked about at my household. There are some better and some worse announcers in this league. Dubuque was definitely an easy to listen to. And Cedar Rapids was obviously not like some.
No, I mean they sounded like broadcasters. They didn't sound like drunken fans that won a contest.
They studied the pronunciation guide for the most part.
For the most part.
Yeah. Well, there's always one.
The Cedar Rapids guy was struggling. Well, he was struggling with his own team a little bit, but other than that, I mean, the actual play-by-play, I can't complain. It was actually some good commentary this weekend.
Yeah, not overly biased.
All right, so it is now time for the Dump and Chase podcast 3 stars of the week. And we're going to kick it off with the 3rd star, Chase Patilla. 1 goal, 2 assists this weekend. Did have a 6-game point streak snapped in the Cedar Rapids game, but he does have points in 7 of his last 8 games. In 4 of those games, those were 2-point games for him. He's really been on a tear of late.
And teaming him up with Strathman, Especially, I noticed those two are out on the top power play unit. You don't usually see two defensemen out there. You would expect to see Strathman, but I think Patilla has shown that his offense equals his defense at least. So, and I like seeing two defensemen out on a power play.
And bringing it up again, that we talked about him earlier in the episode, but you saw that a lot last season with Trey Taylor and TJ Schweighardt. TJ playing more of the traditional defenseman's role on the power play, but Trey being such an offensive defenseman, he was pretty much the equivalent of having a fourth forward out there on the power play. So, I mean, it's not something new we haven't seen before in Youngstown.
No, and it's really nice to see. You don't see it. Even at the NHL level, defensemen who are that well trusted as a forward. All right, second star, Matthew Perkins. 2 goals, 1 assist. His off the puck play, his positioning has just been really impressive over the last weekend.
Yeah, not just getting on the score sheet, just like you said, his positioning. His forechecking, his back checking. His defensive. Just everything off the puck that he's been doing as of late has really been incredible to watch. And on the score sheet really paid off for him this past weekend. And our first star of the week we talked about earlier, Andon Serbone, 1 goal, 3 assists on the weekend. So far in 7 games with Youngstown, 1 goal and 9 assists. So, he is really fit in seamlessly to this Phantoms roster. And we're seeing, what kind of player he is. Just, the hockey IQ, the vision he has out on the ice. It's been in full effect in just, like I said, 7 games so far with Youngstown.
Yeah, IQ, he's got great hands. We saw a little bit of that when he was with Chicago. We don't see a lot of Omaha at all.
I don't think anybody does anymore.
Yeah, anyway, well, I guess that's why he's in Youngstown now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so definitely showing he was worth the trade so far. This is one we'll be analyzing, I think, at the end of the season. And so far, I think we'll be probably pretty pleased with it.
So with 2022 in the rearview mirror, we're going to step away for a moment. When we come back, we'll look ahead to 2023 and a weekend series with the NTDP U17s. Keep it here with the Dump and Chase podcast on Western Reserve Radio. And welcome back to the Dump and Chase podcast, brought to you by Advanced Podiatry. So we're going to get into the weekend. We're going to do a little something different here to start out. We're going to take a look around the Eastern Conference, what's going on this weekend. So we're going to start off Cedar Rapids. They will be playing a home-and-home series with Madison. Of course, like we said earlier, Cedar Rapids went 3-0 this past weekend, starting to climb up in the standings. They've been playing some good hockey as of late. Madison has not. I think their Cinderella run last year will not be repeated this year. Madison's last 20 games, they've only won 3 of them.
It seems like back to the same old Madison. I just hope, they don't try to redeem themselves at the Phantoms' expense. Like in previous seasons.
Last year, Madison, it was Simon Latkozy. Madison's scoring goals, their goaltending is putrid. It really kind of puts into focus what Latkozy did for them last season. Their goaltending has been atrocious this year.
They didn't look horrible at the beginning of the season, but it's just degraded, and they're back to a few years ago.
Yeah, Madison has given up 128 goals this season. That's 18 more than the next closest team, which is Muskegon.
And yeah, they don't have the offense to make up for that.
No. Chicago, speaking of which, Chicago will be hosting Muskegon for 2 games up at Fox Valley Ice Arena. Chicago, of course, first place in the entire United States Hockey League, although they did lose two of the three of their games this past weekend. So definitely see how they bounce back. Muskegon, they've been on a little bit of a slide, including in this a couple losses to the Phantoms a few weeks back before the holiday break. Muskegon's only won 1 game in their last 6. So, and if you're looking for extra hockey to watch this weekend, these Chicago Muskegon games are always fun games to watch. Both of these teams are kind of coming off of bad weekends, coming out of the break and everything like that. So it'll be really interesting to see how these two games go with these two teams.
Yeah, whichever team I think gets their legs going at the beginning is going to come out big this weekend. I don't want to even get into trying to pick which one I want.
Nah, we won't do picks.
Yeah.
We'll leave that to the other guys. And then Dubuque, they have two games with Green Bay this weekend. That also is a home and home series. Dubuque 2-7 in their last 9. So they're in a little bit of a rough patch right now. Green Bay has actually won 5 of their last 6. Green Bay also climbing up the standings. Kind of a down year for them last season, so they've definitely picked it up this year. That could be another interesting one to watch. I'm not going to, but if I were so inclined to, that would be another interesting series to watch. Usually some pretty good games between those two teams.
Yeah, and, like we mentioned, Dubuque did not look altogether well when we faced them this past week. So definitely, I think they have some problems. Will they be able to get it together against a team that is streaking like Green Bay? So, yeah, I would put my money probably on the Gamblers.
All right, so moving back here, a lot closer to home, Youngstown, 2 games this weekend at the Cavelli Center with the NTDP U17s. These teams have played twice already this season, back at the end of November. That was a split weekend series. With one of the more animated Ryan Ward post-game press conferences after the loss to the 17s. Go back and take a look at that one. That was a very quick but very interesting post-game press conference there. But yeah, U17s this past weekend, they snapped a 3-game losing streak on New Year's Eve versus Muskegon. I mean, I would say as far as this week, I mean, it's plain and simple. Youngstown power play has to come alive. They have to pick it up. The U17's penalty kill on the road is 91.3%.
And when you sent me the run sheet late, this is the first time I seen this stat.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I am flabbergasted.
Nice way to work that dig in there, by the way. Real subtle.
Yeah. Not a problem.
Okay.
I'm able to work with. Yeah. It doesn't matter. I fumble the ball equally as when you get it to me the day before. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, I saw that. I was like, I had to reread it.
Yeah. If you look at the U17s, like home road splits, I mean, the record, the power play, yeah, a lot of the numbers are fairly similar home and away. This is the one that their penalty kill, is completely useless at home. But yeah, they're hitting at a 91.3% rate on the road. They've only given up, so far this season, they've only given up 2 power play goals on the road total.
I don't get that.
Yeah.
I do not understand how that stat is even possible. But that just means they're due several, and hopefully we get those.
Yeah, the U17's penalty kill on the road 91.3%, at home 61.8%.
How?
Yeah.
that makes no sense.
Now, the good news is, with these games being played at the Cavelli Center, Youngstown's power play at home is hitting at 31.7%.
That I can understand.
Yeah. On the Phantoms on the road, 69.4%. So definitely a massive difference there. On their, with their, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the penalty kill. There we go. Maybe if I look at the right numbers. Yeah. Phantoms at home, 31.7% on the power play, only 15% on the road. So again, more than double the production on the power play at home. So hopefully that holds up. And, with the 17s, I mean, that very well could be the story of the game.
Like I was trying to say, I think maybe we're due a few goals. They're due a few goals scored against them. We're pretty sure they'll take some penalties.
No comment. I mean, the one thing I will say, I mean, this is a better U17 team than we've seen in the past few years.
No argument here.
Yeah, their overall record in 14 games, 7-6-1-0. Usually we're talking February or March before they're getting into like their third and fourth wins of the season. So I mean, they're definitely a much further ahead the pace that they've made for themselves the past few years. And then we kind of see this, that the U18s are so dominant that the U17s end up getting into the playoffs, just kind of riding on those coattails. They're actually kind of holding their own, kind of holding their end of the bargain as far as that combined record with the U18s. So, but yeah, this is definitely a better U17 team than we've seen in recent history.
Yeah, you see kind of kind of a curve sometimes. We've talked about, they've been on a little bit of a decline the past few seasons. I think we're obviously starting to see, the talent pool pick back up. So time will still tell, but yeah, they've definitely shown, like you said, they can hold their own.
I mean, it definitely seems like forever ago that the Phantoms Clark Cup season, it was the U17s that they beat in the Eastern Conference Finals to go to the Clark Cup. And I mean, that just seems like forever ago. And it's since that time, we've seen a decline with the 17s. This is kind of the first year we've kind of seen them up in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. And I expect to see this group get better over the season. Last year's U17s, I think we saw at the end of the season, they started really kind of putting it together. And this season, they're a lot more composed than they were.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're seeing this season, this team's putting it together, in November, December. So,
yeah,
if they don't plateau out, they will do a little bit more damage, I think, in the playoffs.
Especially since they're going to be playing more of the lion's share of games with that split schedule with the 18s than they have in past seasons. That number skews way more towards the 17s this year than it has in previous years.
And they might be getting a bye week.
Yeah. All right, so the Phantoms will be taking on the U17s this Friday and Saturday at the Covelli Center. That will be a 7:05 puck drop for both nights. Friday night is Star Wars night, whatever that is going to entail. Looking forward to that. Saturday is Pittsburgh Penguins night, we think. It's on the promotional schedule. As of recording, I've heard nothing about it.
Meatball night.
Yeah, we're never going to find out what happened to Meatball night. It's listing Saturday night as Pittsburgh Penguins night. I guess I'll be dusting off the old Sidney Crosby Winter Classic jersey again. But yeah, I haven't heard anything about it as of recording yet. So we'll see if anything pops up during the week. So yeah, as far as these games, friend of the show and voice of the Youngstown Phantoms, Matt Lipsack, will be on the call on Western Reserve Radio and on Flow Hockey. Now, of course, instead of sitting home, and apparently the weather's supposed to be at least decent enough, we won't have to worry about any 4-letter words falling from the sky this weekend. So far, it looks like. So I think the better option definitely would be to actually come out to these games. Tickets are available at youngstownphantoms.com or by calling 330-747-PUCK. That's 330-747-7825. I'm very close to having that memorized. Matt can rattle it off anytime, day or night, with very little prompting. I'm actually getting very close to that. I'm kind of proud of that. So with that, we're going to take one last break. When we come back, we'll wrap up this episode and look ahead to next week's show. This is the Dump and Chase podcast on Western Reserve Radio. And we're back, and that is going to do it for this episode. So coming up next week, we will be recapping this series with the U17s, and we will be looking ahead to a 2-game road trip for the Phantoms. They will be traveling up to Muskegon. Of course, we want to thank our sponsors, Advanced Podiatry. For more information, be sure to check out advancedpodiatry.com. Now, you can check out this show every Wednesday at 5 o'clock on Western Reserve Radio, either on westernreserveradio.com, the Live 365 or TuneIn apps, and the Western Reserve Radio Facebook and Twitter pages, as well as the Youngstown Phantoms Facebook page. This show is also on YouTube and pretty much at various podcatchers wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Make sure to check us out on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Now, all of these links can be found on our Linktree page, which thankfully we can still post on Twitter. That was a fun couple of days.
I'm still not sure the way things are going, but yeah.
I try really hard to stay out of the political aspects of Twitter. That whole Linktree thing kind of made it hard because we really rely on that. We have a lot of links, not only to our stuff, but to other things that are important to this show.
YouTube videos. I don't know the way things are going there. We might have to look to alternatives.
I said in that tweet, I didn't want the edit button that bad. Things got a little hairy for a while. It looks like we're going to be okay for a little while, but we'll see how that all pans out. So beyond all that, Justin, before we get out of here, any final words of wisdom?
Any final words of wisdom? Don't get into fights with kids in face cages.
No, never works out.
Never.
Never deters them either.
Nope. Only makes them braver.
Yeah. All right. So we hope all of you had a wonderful holiday season. And quite frankly, thank you for not abandoning us. It's great to be back. We're happy to be back. Keep this train rolling along. I mean, like I said, we're coming up to 100 episodes. So thanks for sticking around there. So for Justin Irwin, I'm Sam Olmstead. Thank you for tuning in to the Dump and Chase podcast on Western Reserve Radio, and we will talk with you all next week. Bye now.